This next one has been shown to increase our cognitive ability as well as increasing hair growth. Hi friends, I have here some spices that I found in the store today and I wanted to show them to you. So I have here fresh sage, and these spices are wonderful because they're so fragrant. If you've never had sage, you should really try some. They have a very unique aroma. Spices add flavor to any food. And if you've ever had roasted chicken or roasted turkey, you know that it's stuffed with a lot of spices. And this is true with also plant-based proteins. So to your tofu or your beans, you can add these spices such as sage. Now, sage is a very soft leaf. It's actually very furry. And if you can take a close look, right, it has like a furry texture to it. It feels like velvet. And right here, I actually have store-bought sage, and it's very, very different. You see here, let me take this lid off. You see how it's this kind of brownish color? Well, when plants dry, they lose a lot of their chlorophyll, their phytonutrients. The chlorophyll degrades. Whenever you see a green leaf, what you're looking at is their power to photosynthesize. So this is green because of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is kind of like your mitochondria. And if you remember back in biology, the mitochondria is how your cell gets energy. It is the powerhouse of energy. It's like your battery. And without the mitochondria, the cell will die. It can't sustain itself. It's like having lights in your house, right? You can't do any work if there's no lights. But once electricity goes off, it's not just your lights. It'll be your refrigerator. You won't be able to cook. You can't clean. Your vacuum won't work. So many things just won't work without energy. And so this is why you want to eat plants that are green. The greener they are, the more chlorophyll they have. Chlorophyll is the equivalent of mitochondria to our cells. And chlorophyll is special because it could take the sun's light and turn that into energy. We can't do that. We can't harvest the sunlight for energy. Actually, no animal can do that. And that's why all animal and humans are dependent upon plants to live. Now, when the plant turns a shade of yellow, that means their chlorophyll has degraded. And that you've lost a very powerful antioxidant. So you always want to get the freshest, greenest plants. Chlorophyll is also unique because it has magnesium. Magnesium is the most abundant mineral in our bodies. And 50% of Americans are walking around eating magnesium deficient foods. They don't even know they're magnesium deficient. A blood test won't tell that to you because when you're low on magnesium, you actually draw on your own reservoirs. That is your bone. So your bone stores a lot of this magnesium, and when you're low, it just takes it out from your bone. It's like an instant debit without you knowing that your account is being debited. And that can be very dangerous because one day you wake up and you realize that your bone is brittle. Maybe it's a DEXA scan. Maybe you suffer a fall and realize you have a fracture. Whatever that reason is, there's many things important for bone health, and magnesium is one of them. So this is why I always target green leaves, and whenever I can add green leaves to any kind of food, I take that opportunity to do it. Now, sage, a lot of people cook with sage. They cook their animal protein with sage. They bake with it. But the most powerful part of the plant is lost when you cook with it. A lot of their vitamins can be degraded. Their phytonutrients will be degraded. So I tend to want to eat my sage fresh. You can chop this up, add it to your salads. You can add it to even a starchy salad, like a potato salad. You can, if you eat meat, you can add it to meat. Or you can just drink this as a tea. It's very fragrant. And it's just a matter of getting used to these powerful flavors to add to your food so that you don't have to learn how to eat these leaves by themselves, right? They can be a little bit difficult when you eat them by themselves. So here's another plant that many people eat on their own. And this is a mint leaf. Now, you've seen it decorated on like desserts or drinks. Well, mints are wonderful to eat as a salad. I roll it up with other leaves, and together it creates a unique flavor. You know, by itself, it's bitter. This is kind of wilted because it usually should stay in the refrigerator, but I took it out to demonstrate it to you. But no worries. If you put your leaf in like an ice cold bath and let it sit there for maybe, depending on how thick the leaf is, from half an hour to an hour or more, you can actually reconstitute the water. It can plump up. But I usually like to eat this wrapped up in a spring roll. And I'll wrap up mint leaves, a variety of mint leaves, and wrap it up with some tofu, with some chopped carrots, or I would probably taste better with grated carrots and grated cucumbers, maybe some avocado. All of it together is just a powerful burst of flavor. And when you add mints to your diet, it helps with digestion. They actually concentrate mint essential oil. They have it as a treatment for irritable bowel. So I usually will try to eat and drink mints every day. It's really refreshing. When you steep this in hot water, you form a tea. You bring out the essential oils. When you smell it, it can actually open up your nasal passage. Sometimes you can experiment and combine mint with like strawberries or cucumbers. There's so many different ways to add spices to your life. Let me show you a peppermint. Let me grab a leaf. Okay, so peppermint grows kind of like a weed. They grow quite easily, and you just pick them off. If you put this in water, sometimes they'll form a root, and then you can plant this outside, right? Is that a beautiful leaf? So I basically eat the leaves, and this isn't washed, otherwise I would eat it. But this is delicious, and it is bitter, so you have to kind of get used to it. But if you pair it with a starchy food, some other food, then you don't really notice the bitterness. You just notice the fragrance. Now, this other spice, a lot of people like with starches as well. This is called thyme, right? It's very, very tiny. Can you see the leaves? Yeah, super tiny. And what you do is you take the leaf. It comes in as a kind of like a twig, okay, as a bark. And you're going to strip this plant of its leaf, and that's what you're going to eat. Now, this stem is really, really hard. This is so fragrant. I love the smell of thyme. And when you concentrate thyme, it's a really strong antioxidant. So some people concentrate as essential oils. I mean, that's what I'm smelling, the essential oils. And when you smell these essential oils, they interact with your brain. They open up your neurotransmitters, and they stimulate your olfactory nerve to then stimulate your brain cells. So I love buying fresh herbs because I just love the smell of it. It's a little bush, right? And you're just going to strip and eat the tender part. Now, this part is as hard as a twig, so you don't want to eat the brown hard stem, right? When it doesn't break off, you know you can't eat that. And you can roast this. You know, whenever you roast your vegetables with spices, you will lose some of its antioxidant power, but that's okay. You can also add some fresh at the end. It brings out a great fragrance. All these herbs can be put in oil and flavor your oil. I don't like to do that because I don't want to eat so much oil. I'd rather just eat the herbs. But if you enjoy that, that's something else that people do with their herbs and spices to create more fragrance. So here's another spice that I really like, and this is dill. Now, this is a wilted dill, right? It's kind of a sad dill, but it is so fragrant. This is what they use for pickles. Isn't that beautiful, right? This is so green. And like I said, when you find a green plant, you know that it's photosynthesizing sunlight to keep up the green, right? And so dill is really fragile. I wash it, I chop it, I put it in towards the end. You will lose a tremendous amount of flavor if you cook this too long. So usually it's best to add dill at the very end. And you can add it to, if you eat yogurt, you can add it to yogurt or any sauce. You put some dill, you put some cucumbers, you put some garlic, put some pepper. I mean, there's so many ways to dress up a sauce. It tastes delicious. Here's my dill that's in a can, right? And notice this is so different in color, right? This is not green, right? This is kind of a shade of brown. And it definitely does not smell like this. This smells, look at the difference, such difference, right? This smells so much better than the store-bought dill. I mean, it's tasty, it's still tasty, but it's just never going to be the same when you have dry dill. Okay, this next one has been shown to increase our cognitive ability as well as increasing hair growth. This is rosemary. My mom used to have a rosemary bush in our front yard, and it was so fragrant. Every time I would park my car, I'd go in the house, I would walk by these essential oils of rosemary, right? Rosmarinic acid. So rosemary grows as a bush, and it's pretty easily grown. You would think that I would grow it, but I honestly can't water my garden, right? I don't have time to go and dig a hole and plant things, which is not an excuse. I just don't like gardening. So what you do is you eat these leaves. See, these leaves are unique. They're kind of like pine leaves and they're sticky. They're sappy. So I can pluck one off. Oh, it's so fragrant when you pluck it off. And you know, if you need a perk to wake up, pick a leaf and smell it, right? This is a great present, a rosemary bush to give to your grandparents because this can improve their memory. And what you're going to do is you're going to chop this leaf up because it's so fragrant. This is superpowers of essential oils that talk to our immune system. And people purify this essential oil to then rub on their scalp and their hair to help mitigate hair loss. This is how powerful rosemary is. When you buy rosemary in the store, like dried rosemary, it looks like this. It still smells, but it's very different than this smell, right? The leaves are shriveled up and kind of brown, not like the fresh rosemary. This is not shriveled up. This is a beautiful plant. So I have another herb here called basil. You see these leaves? This is a basil leaf. It smells so fragrant. It's one of my favorite herbs to eat. I eat this every week and I basically dice this up. I put it with tomatoes. I dice up tomatoes. Heirloom tomatoes are one of my favorite tomatoes to eat because they're fragrant, they're juicy, and they're sweet. And together I put some balsamic vinegar. You can add a little bit of olive oil and there you have a delicious topping that they actually sell for quite pricey in fine Italian restaurants used for bruschetta. Now, bruschetta comes like a baked bread, and my kids, they love that. They love the bread with the basil and the tomatoes with balsamic vinegar and olive oil. It's that easy. Here's another herb that Asians love, and that's cilantro. Now, some people I know don't like cilantro because it has a very strong odor, a strong fragrance. But I love cilantro and I had to learn to like it. I didn't like it as a kid. My mom would add cilantro to everything, but I just didn't like it because it was so strong. And now as an adult, I realize I really like this flavor. And I think just in general, it takes something like 13 times of trial over and over before your kids will like things. And this is the same for adults. So if you don't like it the first time, try it again, try it at least 13 times. And over, you will get used to the taste and you will realize that it actually will taste good. So I add cilantro again with my mints, like my peppermint, as well as cucumber, celery, avocado, carrots in a spring roll. And I wrap that all up with some kind of starch. Some people like to use noodles. I like to use quinoa and I like to put nuts and seeds in it. And I wrap that all up as a spring roll. And then I make a cilantro dip. Now my cilantro dip is a really big hit. My kids literally will drink it because it's that tasty. When you grind up cilantro, it doesn't have that taste anymore. It makes it somehow less fragrant in a sense, but it still has enough fragrance to give that hint of a unique flavor. And I combine cilantro with some tamarind, some dates, lime, balsamic vinegar, garlic, and I just blend that whole thing up with a little bit of water. You can put a little bit of olive oil if you like, and that's a wonderful dipping sauce for just about everything. If you want to learn more about powerful anti-inflammatory foods and how to eat them, watch the next video.